Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 91 of the show. Obviously, thank you guys so much for your continued support of the show. It really means a ton to me. It actually does. I know my voice sounds a little bit off today. You know, I just got done from a test, so I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit tired, stressed, all of the above. But aside from that, that's not going to detract from what we're talking about today because, well, we got a lot to talk about. But obviously, we're going to be doing a little bit of house cleaning beforehand. So what do we want to talk about before? So again, thank you guys so much for all your support. Episode 90 did really well, and I'm happy how well it did. I'm glad that, you know, it got out there. I was very happy how it turned out. I was also happy with, you know, how even though a special project with the AirPods is coming out, like that was really fun to do that. Just a lot of personal stuff is going well for me. You know, anybody that knows me personally, I just got a new job, so I'll be a community advisor here on campus for, you know, at my college. I'll be running a floor, so I'm excited for that. I just moved in. RIP my monitor a little bit because I got scratched in the process of moving, but that's a whole different thing, you know. But aside from that, there's not really much house cleaning today because, pretty straightforward. Especially because that's pretty much how today's topic is because, well, it's a little bit interesting, you know, because I say that it's straightforward, but at the same time, it can go many different ways because of something going on. Yes, I'm doing the cough because I'm not allowed to say what it is because, you know, a lot of stuff's going on with YouTube. You know, if you post a video that has that in it, then they're going to instantly, you know, do stuff to the video. So I'm like, look, I'm not going to bother with it. So I might as well just do to give you an idea of what we're talking about. But aside from that, we are going to be talking about PC building in 2020 because this is a very interesting year for PC building. And why do I say that? Because I know a lot of y'all that are, you know, PC enthusiasts and love building PCs and are very up to date with what's going on in the PC market. You're like, Josh, what are you talking about? Last year, what made more sense? We had the super cards, we had Ryzen 3000 series, you know, we had a lot of good stuff going on, you know. But this year is a very interesting case because, well, not only because of the new stuff coming out, but at the same time, we also have to deal with we got to deal with that. I know it's weird that I have to do that, but I have to because I can't actually like name drop it, you know. But this year is an interesting year. Not only because this is one of the, well, it's a very prominent year that Intel will still be behind AMD because last year AMD greatly increased their stocks because of how well their CPUs were just outperforming the Intel offerings. And it's just interesting on how AMD is now in the lead. Graphics cards, AMD is not where NVIDIA is right now. Like, granted, yes, AMD is able to trade blows at good price ranges, but you also have to realize we're not including drivers. We're not including like a lot of the issues people were reporting about the AMD graphics cards that came out this year. I'm referring to the 5700 and 5700 XT, you know, the 5600 and the 5600 XT and the 5500 and 5500 XT. That all those cards ship with wonky BIOSes that even then the BIOS is still a little bit buggy. And at the same time, you know, like the bad stock cards with the blowers are just overheating, and it's just, granted, a lot of those issues have been fixed, but granted, AMD has not been making the best headway in there. But what are we specifically focusing on today? What is so important about 2020? So this is the year that we're going to be expecting new Intel processors. We're also going to be waiting for the AMD 4000 series, which yeah, I know it's weird that they would launch the 3000 and then the 4000 series, and the 3000 series is still doing really well, but it's going to happen. And then the rumor is that NVIDIA is going to drop the 3000 series cards. And this is very interesting, to say the least. And I want to start with the NVIDIA graphics card part first, because a lot of people that build PCs prefer to use NVIDIA graphics cards. I personally do. I swear by it, because it's like, look, I'll pay a little bit of extra premium because I know I'm going to get good software for my graphics card. The BIOS is great. You know, GeForce Experience is amazing. Like, I get a lot of benefits. You know, the Turing engines are really good for streaming. So I get a lot of benefits out of owning an NVIDIA card. So now, granted, I'm not saying the AMD offerings are bad. No, because I've always recommended the AMD graphics cards because of how well they are. But, well, at least referring to last year with the 5700, 5700 XT and the 5600 XT. But aside from that, yes, I wouldn't recommend them so much right now because of all the BIOS issues going on, and AMD is still working to fix this out. But regards to the 3000 series of NVIDIA cards, a lot of people are going to be mad if this happens this year. The reason I say this is because I actually had to go back and look, because I actually forgot when the 2000 series launched. The 2000 series, based on a little search, they started shipping in September 20th of 2018. The Super Series came out last year, which is a mid-refresh. Keep in mind, these are refreshes. These aren't TIs. These are like refreshes of how the card should have been to begin with. And even then, last year was a really weird year for NVIDIA in terms of graphics cards because of everything AMD was doing. You know, the performance and the price range of the 5700 XT and the like graphics cards like the 5600 XT. And NVIDIA got stuck in a rock and a hard place because the stock, it was the stock 2060 got outperformed by the 5700 XT, and it's in the same price range as the base, you know, as the 2060. And then it also was able to outperform the 2070 and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward, we get the super cards. I have gone on record and said multiple times that the super cards are how NVIDIA should have released the 20 series. That's how they should have launched the 2000 series. That is realistically how they should have done it. The super cards are great. I like them. Granted, yes, their price points are a bit janky because, for example, if we're comparing a 2060 Super to a 2070, a 2060 Super is, in theory, it's a 2070, but it's not able to, you know, under the same price. So it's like, you know, what do you want? And, you know, obviously the 2070 Super, great card for many people that are looking for a great graphics card. I always would recommend that if you're not looking for a big top of the line, you know, 4K gaming with no issues. And obviously, yes, we also have the 2080 Super, and then we have the 2080 Ti, which 2080 Ti is a beast. And then we have the Quadro. Or not the Quadros, we really have the Titan, which, you know, the Titan, yeah. Aside from that, NVIDIA had a really rough year when it came to the 2000 series because, you know, like they had a lot of stuff going on, whether it be competition with AMD and just figuring stuff out, you know, Intel saying they were going to make a graphics card. Like, it got really crazy, you know, and it got crazy. And the fact that they're saying that this year, after last year, halfway last year of refreshing with the super cards, we're going to get the 3000 series now. That is a little bit of a concern because I have already stated on record that RTX is half-baked. That's what it is. It's half-baked, and it's more of a thing that you should look forward to in the future, not right now. Precisely saying is that when you use RTX on anything besides a TI, a 2080 Ti, or the Titan, your performance is going to drop hard. Like, it's going to drop pretty hard, which is expected. It's first generation, you know, like, there's a lot of kinks. And the funny thing is, it's not even so supported. So, especially in what they were saying, that, oh, this is going to be so well supported. Every game is going to have RTX. And we barely have a handful of games that have it. So, yeah. I think RTX was not really a good idea to launch it. I do not think that was a smart idea, because all it did was just increase how much they could charge for the cards. And people were still happy with Pascal. Pascal, which if you don't know what that is, Pascal is referring to the 10 series. So that's the 1060, 1070, 1080, 1080 Ti, those cards. It's referring to those cards that a lot of people really like. Specifically the 1080 Ti, a lot of people are holding off on buying the 2000 series because they have a 1080 Ti, which the 1080 Ti is, it's basically comparable to what? I think it's like considered, some people say it's almost considered a 2080 Ti without ray tracing, but I would check that. I'd fact check, like look up videos from either Unboxed, Hardware Unboxed, or, anybody that does performance, Bitwit and stuff like that. But aside from that, what do I expect from the 3000 series? I am expecting a big price jump again. Unless if NVIDIA is like really scared of AMD, because AMD is also making some products this year as well. I'm afraid that there might be a price jump. And obviously RTX will probably be more redefined. I wouldn't say redefined, but it'll probably be more refined than what it was with the 2000 series. But even then, I still think it's them trying to justify raising the prices on these cards. And, granted, yes, I say, in my opinion, keep your 2000 series. If you have, like, say, for example, if you have a 2070 Super, 2060 Super, or let's just say 2060 Super or above, do not upgrade. Do not. Hold on to your card. It makes sense. Unless if there's some big performance jump that we're talking about, like 40 to 50% jump, and the price is right, okay, then yeah, we can talk about that, because that's a whole different thing. But right now, we don't know anything. NVIDIA hasn't really said anything. These are mostly rumors. So we're really just speculating and giving opinions on this. Now, granted, AMD, on the other hand, we know their 4000 series processors are coming. They've already talked about them. At the same time, we know that they are working on a high-end GPU. And this is what a lot of people wanted, because the 2080 and 2080 Ti, and obviously the 2080 Super, those cards have had zero competition from AMD. AMD has made nothing even close to competing with them, because they don't want to compete with the high end, because the high end isn't what makes the most money. The most money is in the mid range. So it's like, the $300 to $400 $500 graphic card range. It's in that price range is where you get most of the competition going, and AMD doesn't compete there. But now there's rumors going on that they're making a high-end graphics card to compete with the 2080, or granted, in this case, it would compete with, say, the 3000 series. So they're preparing for it and everything, and they want to start with that card this year. And I think it'd be a good move. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Granted, yes, like I mentioned before, the BIOS updates are a pain in the butt. So hopefully, AMD can rough out a lot of those software issues going on with these graphics cards, because a lot of people would like to support AMD, because a lot of people already like their CPUs, and, put CPU, GPU together, kind of runs really nice. And aside from that, we're going to talk about the 4000 series processors. Now, this actually personally impacts me, because I am on the fence of what to do with upgrading my computer. Because as you guys know, my personal regular King's engine, I have a 2600X. But I personally want to upgrade to a much better processor so I can do more CAD designs more efficiently, video editing, do more of my audio workload that I do with editing the show much easier, and exporting and everything much easier. So I obviously want an 8-core or above CPU. Now, I'm stuck in the middle of a rock and a hard place, because it's like, so far we are getting good price discounts on the 3000 series as expected, but we know the 4000 series coming. So what do you do? One thing I've seen a lot of people talk about in regards to the 4000 series is that we know that it's still going to be fine on AM4, because the AMD said that they will still be supporting AM4 until through 2020. So that means that the 4000 series will be the last processors that use the AM4 platform before they make something new. So that's good. So if you have a good motherboard, whether it be the B450 Tomahawk from MSI, well, I know there's the Max, and that's probably the one I'd recommend, or the Carbon, or a really good X570, which some of the best X570s that I'm aware of. For under $200, I know that the Asus TUF Gaming Pro Wi-Fi is incredibly good for the value, and it's also a really good board too. For sub 300, I know the ASRock X570 Taichi is the undisputed king in that price range. And then there's also the Gigabyte Aorus Ultra. Yes. And then you have the plus $300 range, which that one actually is run by the Gigabyte Aorus Master because of all the stuff Gigabyte put inside that board. It's a phenomenal motherboard. But aside from that, so you're perfectly fine if you have a good motherboard. You don't need to upgrade. You're perfectly fine. But if you're in the market to buy, what do you do? Or specifically, if you're upgrading from, say, like a first generation Ryzen or from a second gen, and you're wanting to figure out what you want to do. The fact that the rumor is that the processors are still going to be 7 nanometer. The only difference is that the 4000 series will be something called 7 nanometer plus. It will all come down to how these processors, how efficient they are, how much more powerful, if there's a benefit to upgrading, because the 3000 series to begin with was such a massive leap that it gave AMD the lead against Intel in a long time in terms of processors. And the 3950X is a behemoth. That's the first ever consumer 16-core 32-thread processor, which is insane. It is a really good processor. And it's exciting, It's incredibly exciting. In my case, I kind of took advice from my friend on this one because it makes more logical sense. If you know the processors are going down in price and the performance difference, say, like I said, we don't have any hard numbers, but if the performance difference really isn't that much, wouldn't it make more sense to, how would I say? It would make more sense to buy the 3000 series when they're even lower, because then all the boards that go, like, they're going to put boards on sale, they're going to put those processors on sale, there's going to be a super mega sale. And primarily the 3950X, the big boy, that obviously right now is like about $750, it would drop a good amount. Let's say they drop it to like what? 600. Like I would say 500, but that's probably pushing it a little bit too much. But let's say 600. They drop it to 600. I would say wait and buy and save your money and then buy the 3950X, because when you have the 3950X, you will not need to upgrade for a good period of time. Like, that is a behemoth of a processor for good reasons. It is such a phenomenal processor. Yes, you are going to make sure that you want a motherboard that's able to handle that processor and at the same time have more like proper cooling for it, if you would say. You want to make sure you have the proper cooling to take care of, because that processor is going to get pretty toasty, and you better make sure your motherboard's able to handle that toasty processor. So in regards to the AMD processors, because like I said, we don't really know so much about the 4000 series. We just heard investor meetings and talking about it, and referring to what AMD's plans are in regards to the future. So we're really just going off what we know right now and then just going from here, and just waiting and seeing. But I always say, in regards to AMD processors, I think this is the time where it makes sense to wait and see what happens. Like, let people test them, let people do price to performance ratios. Let's see how much the performance gain, like what actually is different, et cetera, and then you can make your decision there. Because like I said, I can't make these decisions for you. For me personally, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to wait until I see what the performance jump is. And if it makes more sense to compare, say, the 3950X to whatever, like say the 4700X, then I'm probably just going to get the 3950X and just move on from there, And aside from that, going into Intel, because obviously Intel this year is playing catch up for sure. They're definitely in a place where, they definitely got beat in price to performance ratios. Like, Intel definitely is not doing so hot right now. Like, a lot of poor decisions from last year in regards to processors, whether it be the launch of the 10 series or really the 10th generation, and just a lot of bad decisions inside that entire lineup. Obviously, everyone's waiting for Tiger Lake right now and seeing where we go from here and how Intel bounces back. Because the reality is they are stuck on 10 nanometer. That's where they're at right now. They're stuck on 10 nanometer. They can make a great 10 nanometer processor, but they're having such a hard time to go to 7 or lower. And, by the time the competition, they are going to be pushing towards 5 nanometer processors, which that's pretty insane. That in theory, they'll be incredibly efficient. But aside from that, Intel is really they're fighting from beneath right now. So they're really trying to figure out what to do, how are they able to combat this AMD menace? It's kind of funny saying that, the AMD menace. But they're figuring it out. And I hope that they do. And I hope that we get some good products and that we'd have great competition, because that's the whole point, is that a healthy, sustainable market has competition. Because without it, it's just boring, it causes a lot of problems. Some things end up being overpriced and et cetera, et cetera. So having competition is nice. And I think, being honest, I think Intel definitely learned their lesson to not try to underestimate AMD, because they are definitely swinging for the fences. AMD is not here to just, we should be fine. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. And, that's not really realistic. They should be terrified of what AMD is going to do, because, AMD is not here to play some games, my man. They're here to win. They're not here to lose. This is a competition. They're here to win, bro. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, And granted, yes, we can also talk about the 4000 series launching in laptops, which that's not really PC building, but we can at least briefly mention it. Yes, the 4000 series processors and laptops, a lot of people are interested, specifically creators and anybody wanting a beefy laptop that doesn't have Intel, because it's probably going to be really good too, because they are 7 nanometers, very high core counts in laptops now. So AMD, I'm excited to see what they do, because, besides the high-end GPU, besides the 4000 series, a lot of good things are going on for them. So I applaud them for all the work that they made. They had a great 2019, and hopefully they can have a great 2020. And, for Intel, I just hope that they pick up their slack, because, the competition's running and they're just walking, Aside from that, this also leads into a lot of issues that a lot of people have been talking about recently in terms of shortages of parts and stuff like that, because due to the there is a lot of shortages going on. Well, I wouldn't say shortages, but the rumor and fear going around is that it will lead to a lot of short stock, or I'd specifically say not as much being manufactured, and as a result, inventory is going to be very low. So that's why people are saying stuff like, hey, you should probably go buy stuff right now and not wait, because this is a very unpredictable situation. We don't know if it's going to get worse or if it gets better. So it just makes sense to go buy now and just be done with it, But a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't make much sense. It's causing hysteria and causing issues. And people are arguing that, look, if you tell people to go buy now, it's actually going to cause a shortage. And, it's actually going to cause a shortage. Think of it like this. When the started, a lot of places sold out of tissues and Kleenex and hand sanitizer. Those things are never sold out. They're always in stock in plenty. And now every place is sold out. You get what I mean? It causes a shortage because of fear, mass hysteria. And in this case, yes, I think it could go either way, because like I said, this is a very unpredictable situation. We don't know what's going to happen. And yes, a lot of people are afraid, which I'm making this very clear. I'm not primarily focusing on the electronic parts and everything. I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the people, because yes, it impacts a lot of people, and a lot of people are being affected by this. So that's the most important thing, is people are more important than electronics. That should be a given. But if we want to focus on the electronics part, then yes, this does suck. It does, because I do think there's going to be a lot of issues. We've already seen companies like Apple, inside sources, and I'll post a link in the description of John Prosser talking about Apple's issues in regards to the there's shortages for sure in terms of producing these parts, manufacturing, repairing things. There is a shortage going on because there's no manufacturing going on. And as we've already established, this situation is very, very volatile. Anything can happen. There is nothing set in stone. Anything could happen. At the time of this recording, E3, one of the biggest conferences in the world for electronics, got canceled because of the and a lot of people are shocked, because they're like, well, yes, it makes sense that we're trying to protect people and we don't want to cause more spread of the but it's also one of the biggest tech conferences of the year that a lot of companies go, like Microsoft and Nintendo. Well, obviously Nintendo does their direct, but as example, Microsoft goes and shows off stuff on stage because they like that. They like the publicity. They like having the press there. They like having people there. And the fact that it's canceled makes things much more difficult, and it obviously causes more hysteria because it's freaking people out. They're like, look, all these events are getting canceled. Things are getting sold out everywhere. Like, what do I do? And it's like, you know, and in terms of PC buying, I would just be mindful and ask yourself very simple questions like, look, do I need an upgrade right now? Is it something that I can wait on? Like, is this necessary? You know, like that's always probably the big question. Is this really necessary? Do I really need this? And I would just be mindful of what's going on around you. Don't be oblivious to it. Be mindful, pay attention, and, you know, come to the understanding that, there's something going on. It's causing an issue, and we're acknowledging that this is a problem. So how do we move forward from this? In my opinion, I would say, like, I'm making this very clear. This is my opinion. I would wait and just, you know, have ear to the ground, pay attention, go from there. Because going out and buying parts, like just telling people to go buy parts willy-nilly right now is going to cause shortages. Like during winter break, my winter break, we had a shortage of RAM at some of the stores I went to. Like a lot of the RAM that I wanted wasn't available because there were shortages. And it really sucked because, you know, like RAM is also a very important piece to get. More of it is better. Don't at me. But you get what I'm saying is like, it becomes an inconvenience. And, you know, we're just going with what we know right now and just being mindful that, look, this situation can get better or worse at any moment. This is not a, you know, concrete, controlled situation. This is not very controlled. Like, we know this can get out of hand very quickly. We're being honest with ourselves. It can happen. So just being mindful, being hopeful, like, be careful with what you're doing. Be careful with what you say and freaking people out and telling them, hey, you should go buy this right now because it's going to be gone and you're not going to see it for like another 6 to 8 months. No, don't do that. Be polite, be honest, you know, like, hey, ask yourself these questions. Is it worth it? Do you need it right now? You know, et cetera, et cetera. I think going from there, talking about, you know, actually like putting things together, besides like new cases, there's not really much new stuff going on besides new processors. We aren't expecting a new platform yet from AMD in regards to processors because, as we mentioned, AMD will be supporting the AM4 platform up until through 2020. So we know that that's happening. So there's not really much else to do, you know? Like, we pretty much covered everything. And, well, granted, there's also another thing talking about Windows, but I want to save that for another time because that's a topic in itself, you know, like talking about Windows X. And it's, I'm really interested to talk about this one because it's going to be really fun. But aside from that, I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, I think it's pretty much everything. I think we covered everything very quickly. But aside from that, thank you guys so much for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me that you guys, you know, keep coming back, keep listening to the show. You're constantly sharing the episodes, you know, and you're constantly clicking like, download, etc. And it just means a ton to me that you guys are doing that. I'm personally excited to see how this year turns out because I'm probably going to be building a new computer this year. Or I'll probably be upgrading my computer, or I'm going to be either upgrading or I'm going to be building a whole new one. And I'm excited to see what happens because this is a very, very nice year because obviously, you know, it's going to be nice seeing how Intel fights back this year if they're able to, and AMD obviously with what they end up making. Obviously in terms of graphics cards and CPUs, NVIDIA making the 3000 series worries me a little bit because we barely got the 2000 series not even 2 years ago, and now we're getting a 3000 series. So, yeah, that's the thing. But aside from that, I think that is pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything else. Again, anybody that knows me in personal life or anybody that knows me, I thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Like, this past week has been very hectic. It's been very crazy. A lot of studying, a lot of like logistical things with the new job and getting things situated, you know, and just figuring things out, you know. And that's pretty much how I like it. Is I like going and figuring things out, you know, one day at a time. Like, don't focus on the future or too much on the future. Like, have plans, but don't focus so much on them, you know. Like, acknowledge that, hey, you can't control the future. You don't know if you'll even get tomorrow. Make the most of you got today and do what you can today, right now. Focus on right now. And that's all I got for you guys, pretty much, you know. But aside from that, thank you guys so much for your time. It really, really means a lot to me that you guys keep coming back. I know I sound very dead, and I'm probably going to take a nap after this. But thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys enjoy. Love you guys. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. Don't do anything dumb, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.